Well, I forgot to pack my tinfoil hat, but since space is fake, this'll have to do. Adjust your shorts and prepare yourselves to get kicked in the dick by the news. My name is Ray Stone. Today is Thursday, February 19th, which means we didn't see you on Tuesday. But there was a foot of fresh powder on top of a 6-inch bit of powder, and then there was another foot yesterday. So whereas I normally might apologize, I cannot, for the snow gods shall not be forsaken. Not by me, not by myself. Whoa, no, ladies and gentlemen. And if you hear that hum, that means the heaters are working, because, whew, it is cold in Durango. But that's neither here nor there. We've got a lot to cover. And as I said, you're going to need your tinfoil hat on this one. Because I think I see something, and I'm not sure if I should say something. But, you know, that's just never stopped me before. So let's jump in and see what Ray thinks. Now, we've been following along and curious as to why Nancy Guthrie, 84-year-old mother of, I can't remember what her name is, Guthrie, a news anchor for NBC, has disappeared at 84 with a ransom note. And the cops have been going through septic tanks, and this says they're revising how they do DNA sleuthing. DNA sleuthing might help them figure out what happened or something. And apparently the doorbell was disconnected. The Ring doorbell cam thing was disconnected at 1:24 in the morning in February, and she disappeared. And I don't know why that is national news for since then. I think they reported it on the 5th. It happened on the 1st. They reported it on the 5th. Now this just kept me curious. It just kept tickling in the back of my mind. Why? Come on. Why? And then I saw a post, because I searched why is 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie news? And I saw something that I hadn't seen before, and it was a Google results search result for a Facebook post that said the All-American Halftime Show was indeed originally scheduled to air on NBC alongside Bad Bunny. And at some point, that changed. And there's a lot of Google cover-up. Let me show you. First, if you Google, NBC dropped TPUSA halftime show. First of all, it tries to correct you and tell you you're wrong, but it says no. NBC did not cancel the Turning Point USA All-American Halftime Show because it was never scheduled to air on NBC in the first place. Okay, that's a very human-sounding way of making it seem like I asked a very stupid fucking question. But, well, first of all, right up top, Google, go fuck yourself. You get one. You get one because go fuck yourself. You suck now. Google AI sucks. It lies to you. Because if you ask a little more specific, NBC, don't ask, dropped TPUSA halftime show in November. The AI overview has a new tone. It says in November 2025, reports indicated that NBC dropped the Turning Point USA All-American halftime show due to creative differences, specifically over the network wanting a more tempered approach while producers sought an unfiltered, faith-driven performance. The special subsequently moved to other platforms, and that's the Facebook post. So why, oh why, when you ask Google, did NBC drop the TPUSA halftime show? Would Google, why would Google say, no, it was never scheduled, when indeed it was scheduled? So sometimes you have to go on over to Brave, and you got to ask Brave, did NBC drop the TPUSA halftime show in November? And Brave says very quickly, yes, NBC officially dropped. That means they didn't just do it quietly, they officially dropped it. The Turning Point USA's All-American halftime show in November, citing those differences. Now it says this was just 85 days before the Super Bowl. Now, couple of things. First of all, it was scheduled because everybody wanted to see Charlie Kirk. This was scheduled before September. So people wanted to see Charlie Kirk, but something happened to Charlie, and so he couldn't make it. And so in November, it got canceled. tpush, TPUSH. They wanted to push their Christian agenda. This is what tpush wants to do. Now, we already know tpush is willing to, let's call it excommunicating, right? Let's say pull the plug on someone, just to play it safe, right? So seems like we already know they're willing to pull the plug to push their agenda. It's the old push and pull, but in reverse. You see, they do the old pull and push. So let's just keep walking down this road a little bit, shall we? Because I asked, when did Nancy Guthrie disappear? And she disappeared on February 1st, 2026. Then it was reported on February 5th, 2026. Now, here's a funny thing. I'm not a major football fan. I like it fine. I'll root for your team if it'll make you happy. I have learned, don't root against people's teams because they get real mad at that shit, which is petulant behavior, downright childish and immature if you ask me. But hey, I believe in fairness. I just wanted to root for the other team because I felt like they were underrepresented. So anyway, I had to ask Google, when was the Super Bowl? Now remember, in relation to Nancy disappears on the 1st, gets reported on the 5th, and then I learned that the Super Bowl was on the 8th. Does anyone else, is it possible, am I going too far? Has space become fake, the world is now flat, and birds aren't real, or is that just a little too close for comfort that Nancy Guthrie, the mother of news anchor for NBC who hosts the Super Bowl and pulled the halftime show, her mother would disappear exactly 1 week before the Super Bowl? Now, why is this? Why would they do that, you ask? Because you already know the answer, right? You didn't have to ask. Because you already know the answer to the question. Super Bowl 26 averaged 125 million viewers across all platforms. 124.9. So that's why. Because now you get to push your agenda to 124.9 million people, all condensed into a half-hour viewing episode. What did they get, you ask? How many did they get? Well, great question. I asked that too. They got between 5 and 6.1 million concurrent viewers live on the event. But over 20 to 25 million in subsequent views on other platforms, yada, yada, yada. You know, the views grow because people who say they're not going to watch it, they're like, well, I got to see. I heard it's really bad. So I'm going to go check that out because I heard it's fucking bad. And Kid Rock has a Karen haircut, I guess, now. Or he's in the flock of seagulls. I don't know. But I heard it was bad, really bad, so bad. And so, just to recap, TPUSH only managed to push their agenda to between 5 and 25 million, when they would have been guaranteed to get 125 million. We know they're willing to pull to push, and an NBC news anchor's mother disappeared 1 week before with a ransom note. But I never saw what was on the ransom note. So is this logic coincidence? Yes. Is it also logic? Yes. Motive? Means? Opportunity? Alibi? These are the things that you look for when you're trying to solve the murder mystery puzzle. So, we better move on. Let's jump into CNN, because this actually made me very happy too. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, the prince formerly known as Prince, arrested after Epstein files revelations as King says law must take its course. Now, the article kind of reads like King Charles III didn't know. He was informed that his brother had been arrested, and his response was, law must take its course. My guess is he knew his brother was going to be investigated or arrested. And to be honest with you, quite frankly, yes. Even if he's your brother, if he's touching little kid and little girl and sex trafficking and being all creepy and weird, yeah, fuck that guy. You lose your everything, but you don't get to stay now at the whatever mountain estate he's been staying at. Come on. Moving on. Fox News. A top defense contractor announced a major move weeks after Democrat governor takes office in a, quote, win for the heartland. Now, I just like to traipse around and, delicately step in patches of tomfoolery that I want to step in. And this is just tomfoolery. The Boeing is the contractor. In case you're wondering, Boeing doesn't make their money from commercial airliners, okay? There are only so many companies buying so many of those. But the government buys so many of other kinds of things that Boeing makes. Yeah. So anyway, they've been based in Arlington, Virginia, right there where, next to Langley, right. Arlington is where a lot of very federal stuff takes place. And since Virginia just elected a Democrat, they said, we out. We ain't making no money. We're not going to get these contracts. We're not having the same stuff. We're going back to New Orleans. Was it New Orleans? Where'd they go? St. Louis. They're going back to St. Louis, where they make a bunch of their stuff, to be fair. I guess they moved their headquarters to Arlington 10 years ago or some such, 7 to 10 years ago. And, everything is so political. Everything is so politicized nowadays that you can't just suck it up because your team lost and just hang out. But I guess why would you, right? Because if all the handshaking's done, why are you there, right? No more handshaking, I guess. Why don't you do a few handshakes on keeping the doors on the planes? How about we start with that? Or was that Lockheed Martin? I think it was Boeing. Anyway, let's move on. AP former South Korean president receives life sentence for imposing martial law in 2024. I remembered this martial law thing in 2024. I really didn't understand what it was all about. South Korea is the good one. And for whatever reason, all of a sudden, at the time, South Korean president declared martial law, surrounded himself with like defense but the South Koreans weren't fucking having it. They stormed that shit, knocked him out of power, and said, "No, you're done." And I guess he just got a life sentence, And it's like, man, I kind of feel like maybe he's not the only first world leader that could use a little insurrection. It's getting hot in here. Let's move right along. Last up, but not least up. NPR, Iran and the U.S. lean into gunboat diplomacy as nuclear talks hang in the balance. Now, in case you missed it, gun-toting, boatin' diplomacy is, I believe, meant to be an oxymoron. It is certainly run by a bunch of oxymorons. The United States really wants that oil, and we have made it clear that we are going to do what we can to get your oil. Because, honestly, that's the money. Oil, mining, drugs, food. That's it. You got oil, mining, drugs, and food. And with that, you can adjust your shorts and pull them back down to their normal levels. Consider yourselves kicked in the dick by the news and myself. As always, I'm Ray Stone, and we will see you on Tuesday. Bye.